Hey, my name is Daniel, I'm a filmmaker, and here's some of my work.
We've identified this problem of domestic coal burning and the impact that it has on the health of our people, both from an indoor air quality point of view and an ambient air quality point of view. These interventions should result in improve the air that people breathe should be much cleaner. Our offsets entail trying to transition households, this is low-income households, from the use of solid fuels to the use of cleaner sources like electricity and gas. We're here today to launch this program officially, this air quality offsets. We have started implementing this project in April last year. We've already done around 650 houses. So we thought it's appropriate to pause and invite various stakeholders to come and officially launch this program. So we have a ribbon cutting ceremony, and it's a day of celebration because I think we're really moving and we're starting to really impact the communities. We have been interacting with the communities. We're part of this community. They've really welcomed us. So today is just a day of celebration where we will just reflect on the good work that Eskom is doing.
IPTS is responsible for the project management office for the Masibambisane project, which entails first setting up the office and engaging with the key stakeholders like the councillors and everybody else that's involved, traditional leaders and all the leaders that are available in the community. Set that up, and then we engage the community, starting to talk about what the project is about, educating them, as well as getting them to register to be a part of the project. And one of the key criteria to be a part of the project is having a coal stove. If you do have a coal stove, or if you did have a coal stove, you would then register to be a part of it. Once you register, you sign what we call a participation agreement, and then you get onto the database. That database is then sent to Masingitaville, who then take that database and install and do the insulation package, which is involving the insulation and the electrical wiring of the houses. They then send back the houses that have been completed back to IPTS, who then go back to the households to give them the gadgets. The gadgets involved are, we give households a heater, a stove, as well as 2 gas cylinders, and we take out the coal stove, the old coal stove. We then move and take that coal stove for recycling, which then completes the process.
CineComm Solutions gets a database from our PMO IPTS of all the voluntary participants in the project. We then take that database and we develop it further. We go out, we trace the houses, we locate them, and then we plot them in our desktop map to make sure that we know exactly where each house is located within the community. And then once a house has been identified and has been verified to indicate that we can go ahead with the installation, it is then scheduled in our installation schedules, where the household is then notified that we'll be coming through on a specific date to do the installation. The team is sent out to the house with the required materials to fully install the house. When they get to the house, they first prep the house. They remove the furniture, they remove the chimney and the coal stove. They then mask the house to ensure that when insulation is applied, there is no off-spray or damage to the walls of the house. And then the insulation team rolls up, and then a qualified insulation technician goes into the house, sprays the house. Once the spray foam insulation has been sprayed on, the next team comes in, the painting team. They spray intumescent paint in the house, which is a fire retardant paint, to ensure that the foam will not catch fire and pose as a health risk to the household. Once that is done, then our stripping team comes in to strip and scrape off any excess SPF or spray foam that was sprayed on the roof that is attached to the trusses. Once the scraping team or the stripping team is done, our sealing team then accesses the house. They put up bend rings in the house, ensuring that the bend rings are put up properly and they are attached correctly. And then once that's done, the electrical team comes in to run electrical rewiring on the house before the actual ceiling board is put up, closing the house up. And then once that's done, the electrical installation is then tested, the lights are installed, the plugs are installed, the DP is dressed up and labeled appropriately, and then the house is painted, and then it is cleaned and handed over to the homeowner. And then we do our normal audits throughout this process. We'll audit the SPF installation to make sure that we have proper coverage and the required depth of the SPF. And then we also audit the installation of the ceiling to ensure that the spacing of the bend rings, the spacing of the screws, the board is attached properly, and the cornices are also cut and attached properly. Once that's audited, we then audit the electrical installation, which is done by our qualified senior electrician, who checks that the wiring has been done properly, who performs the necessary electrical test on the installation, and then they issue a COC.
This is an Eskom project called Air Quality Offsets. The bulk of Eskom power stations use coal to generate electricity. In the process of generating electricity, unfortunately, they emit pollutants, and because of that fact, the operations needs to be regulated. They are regulated by the Department of Environmental Affairs. They issue Eskom with what we call atmospheric emission licenses, which prescribed the amount of pollutants we are allowed to discharge into the air. So all the power stations, they've got an AEL, which prescribe those standards. 5 years ago, the authorities came out with new standards, which are called minimum emission standards, and they require us to improve the way we operate to emit less pollutants into the atmosphere. So we entered into a discussion with the authorities and we asked for a postponement. After some deliberations, the authorities gave us that decision, but on condition that we do offsets. And this is where this project emanates. So what we're doing here, we're executing that particular mandate. This area is selected because of a number of issues. So we've got a criteria with 3 elements to it. Eskom has to have an impact on this area. So there's a couple of power stations near this area. We've got Arnott and we've got the Hendrina. So Eskom has some footprint over this area. And the second criteria is that the area needs to be in non-compliance. As I've indicated, we have monitoring stations installed here. So we know how the air looks like here, and it's not good. It doesn't meet the national ambient air quality standards. So that's the second criteria. The area has to be in non-compliance with national air quality standards. The third criteria is that there needs to be an opportunity to do the kind of offsets that we're doing. So there needs to be a high usage of coal and using coal stoves, because that's the device we're targeting for our stove swap. So those are the 3 main criteria. And Kwaza ticks all the boxes with regard to all those 3 criteria. So the bulk of communities, of households in an area like we are today in KwaZulu-Natal, they still rely on coal for heating and cooking. That humble activity results in a lot of pollutants being emitted indoors and also outdoors, and it imposes a serious health risk on our people. So we want, as Eskom, we want to make a contribution to move our people away from the use of these dirty fuels to using cleaner fuels, and that is the core of the problem that we're trying to address. So we're entering an exchange program with willing households. We're offering a suite of gadgets. Specifically, this is a hybrid stove. It's a gas electric stove and also a heater. And in exchange, we're taking away their coal stove. In addition to that, we're insulating the houses because by insulating the houses, you're making the houses much warmer, so the need for space heating reduces, and in that way we're trying to lessen the need for usage of energy. So through this process, we hope that individual households will emit less and will be able to improve the ambient air that they breathe.
Like ekucaleni vele bekubanda vele bekumele wenze sure ukuthi basitofu samalahle ukuze kube warm ebusika. Then yena intambo vele ezigezi bezingaconnectekanga kahle nje wiring yami vele beyibheda la endlini, so then bangenzela umehluko kubhuti. Yeah, since basifakele izitofu ezintsha manje nje everything ilula manje, like nje anginawo umsebenzi omningi wamalahle, yabona nje nangapha endlini futhi akusahlali kunentuthu nje.
Before sizothola lokho ngendlela bokungasi ni lapha ke besebenzisa isitofu samalahle. Unkosikazi wami uze wagula ngendaba yesitofu samalahle, baze bafika lapha bazofaka esinye isigubhu lapha ba-check i-pressure yakhe ukuthi ithini, bathola ukuthi kune-problem melana nesitofu samalahle. That's why unkosikazi wami ngimtshele ukuthi makasisuse. Ngibonga kakhulu kubantu bakwa Eskom njengoba bancede kakhulu, njengikuthanda kakhulu kunye abantu bakwa Eskom banozwelo lilo nomphathi wakazama ukuhle. Ngicela ukuthi bangagcini la kuphela.
Oh, ayislimaza yazi sometimes because sometimes uyabasa ekseni then ngivale la ndlini ngekamereni lami because mina ngihlala la ndlini, ngihlala ngale ngemuva. Uthola ukuthi sekune smoke then balele la ndlini. Nangingaba late ngathola sibabulele le smoke. Nabasilethela isilingi then beza bazo evaluate ukuthi isilingi isiphethe kanjani, bazo evaluate nogesi ukuthi njengoba basenzele new wiring ugesi wethu awuna nkinga. Sathola ukuthi ugesi awuna nkinga, basipha istofu, basipha negas. Iba kalula yazi ngoba ugesi noma uhambile siyakhona ukuthi thina sipheke. For example, the time ihambile ngoDecember for 4 days, it was 4 days or 5, I'm not sure. Thina besikhona ukuphila because besikhona ukuthi sipheke sidle sigeze ngamanzi ashisayo.
Eskom will really make an impact in addressing this issue which is impacting the health of our people.